Hey everybody, it's Christian Buckley doing another MVP Buzz Chat, and I'm talking today with Tore. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. So, Tore, for folks that don't know you, who are you, where
Yeah.
are you, and what do you do?
So my name is Tore Nestenius. I live in the south of Sweden. My day job is teaching and training. So I create my own training material, but then deliver to companies all around Sweden and also outside. And I do focus on areas of .NET, web security, authentication, a little bit of Azure and architecture. So that's my kind of daytime job, teaching and helping other companies. And in my spare time, I do a lot of blogging. I do conference talks, and I do also host my own kind of user group in Malmö called .NET Skåne, together with a few friends of mine. So that is what I do.
Well, and I always like to ask this, you are a brand new MVP, so a couple
Yes.
weeks in. So I guess 2 weeks, you're already an old timer. People are probably reaching out and asking questions. But
Yeah.
maybe you could share your origin story. How did you become an MVP?
Yeah. So I mean, I always looked up to the MVP program. I have friends who is MVPs, and dreaming about becoming an MVP someday. But last year the theme converged, and I kind of thought to myself that I'm mature enough. I'm ready now to try to be nominated as an MVP. So um, earlier this last year, I asked a friend to nominate me, and he did, and then I was accepted. But at the same time, I think you have to be ready for it, and you have to feel that this is a good moment to try to be nominated, because I don't want to kind of waste people's time. I want to have a solid kind of foundation to be proud of and to stand on to join this program. And for me, that kind of journey has been all about trying to share knowledge to the community, both through Stack Overflow, by blogging, by doing user group talks, by doing training to companies, and open source project, and also running my own kind of local user group here in Sweden. So it's all about converging. And a few months ago, I felt that this is a good time. I have a good solid kind of a track record, but I've done a lot of community engagement, giving back to the community, and I thought now it's my turn. And
Did
I made
you
it.
get any advice on like things that you should be doing? I mean, did you have to change anything around the types of
I,
contributions you were giving?
I didn't ask for advice, or I just did my thing, creating content, doing public speaking at user groups, conference speaking, and open source project. And so I thought that I kind of had collected a good set of qualifications, so that I could be proud of, and that I could enter in my MVP application.
Well, aside from the MVP award, I mean, because not everybody who applies or is interested in it receives the award.
Sure.
But I always like to make the case for doing this kind of activity, being active in the community, even if you don't become an MVP.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you have advice for folks of just participating. Like, what kind of value have you received, by participating in the community?
I mean, I work as a trainer as my daytime job, and I really feel, I like to share my knowledge to other people. And I also kind of like the kind of creation process, creating the material, investigating how things really work under the hood, kind of disassembling things, exploring how things, works under the hood. So I really enjoy the kind of the research process, and then compiling it down into a presentation, and then do this presentation at different user groups all around the Nordic countries, and also online, for example. And I really enjoy that process of both learning myself and then sharing the knowledge to others, because I really think that you don't really understand something until you can explain it to
Right.
others.
Yeah.
So So for me, when I want to learn something, I boil it down into a set of PowerPoints, presentations, exercises, doing it as a user group talk, and then eventually maybe that can be turned into a training class or training workshop or similar. So that's my how I kind of study
Right.
creating material and content.
I'm very much the same way. Like I need to be, hands-on, be involved. That's why I prefer like going to like the training sessions, the workshops that have been, that I still remember from years back, some like
Yeah,
20 plus years ago,
yeah,
but that were, so rewarding. Were the ones where it was in person. It was largely technical training. I did some
mm,
leadership
mm,
development classes and programs as well, but it's
mm.
where you are breaking off into small groups and doing projects,
Yeah, yeah,
and more importantly, applying what you're learning directly to your day jobs. I
yes,
love that kind of
yeah,
training.
yeah. I really think that you need to have, and I think the most value is in the exercise, that you can provide good hands-on exercises that really kind of showcase what you want them to learn and to struggle with and to kind of you know explore and understand. And I really think that the hands-on part combined with good demonstrations, live demonstrations, and of course some PowerPoints is a good mix. And
Yeah.
I really think the hands-on part is crucial, but I really think it's an art to create a good exercise material, and that takes time. You have to polish it, and you have to make solutions, and you know, keeping it up to date and ensuring it works, and all of that. But I've been doing training for 14 years, so I have kind of accumulated quite a lot of experience doing this. So I really, I'm pretty confident nowadays when I enter a classroom that it will go smooth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and I know that, obviously during the pandemic, everything that went online, but even the couple years after pandemic,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
still saw a lot of organizations that said, "Oh, we can deliver all of this virtually or just, on demand, so
yes,
pre-recorded things." Do
yeah,
you see a shift kind of moving back toward in-person training?
yes. I really think so because everybody can every company can give employees a Pluralsight account or YouTube account or Udemy account, but it's not sure about how many actually watch an entire like 20 hours video class. How many do that? And I also really think that most of those classes or courses doesn't have that good exercises. And
Yeah.
also don't ask someone when it does not work. And I really think that you want that in person, but you can actually ask questions and you can bring back the question I get into the presentation, and you talked about that thing, and I can include that into my presentations. And I really think that you know is the key here to make it more engaging. And I think people are pretty tired of watching YouTube videos, all day, and
Yeah.
I really think you want the mix. So I always been doing live, both online or in person training, and I never tried the online training class route yet. But it would be fun to explore, eventually. But I really like the kind of dynamic, that you can be more exploring things. You can be more, customizing based on the kind of environment. You can adapt your training more. When
Hmm.
you do a video, it needs to be more polished, maybe more kind of audio and video polished. When you do it live, you can fail. You can fail together with the students, and that can also be valuable lessons to the students, I
Well,
think.
I mean, you see that a little bit with sessions too, when like a demo fails, which sometimes can be fascinating to hear when you have a really good trainer or somebody, a presenter that says, "Look, let's like troubleshoot this. Like, what went wrong? Oh, I see what I did. So here, this should have been capitalized, or I forgot this statement, or whatever it is. This is why there was that problem, or we all lost internet."
And,
But
and, and of course, you have to be. And the biggest challenge today for me is kind of, the firewall. When it
Yeah.
come to customer, you need to access, the internet. Sometimes it's locked down, so that's the only key thing. But for me is I need to check the internet. Can we connect to the outside? Because when you do like a web security class or similar, you need to access the public internet.
Yeah.
And in that cases, many organizations like government or military or similar or banks, the students' machine are pretty locked down. So what they usually do is create virtual machines in Azure that they
Mhm.
give to the students. So each one has their own kind of exercise virtual machine. So I know that the environment is always the same for everybody. I don't have one on Windows 11 and one on Windows 7 and one on Windows 10. And, I can't install Docker and, all the problems. So that is how I kind of avoid having too much trouble in the classroom by providing, virtual machines to the students.
Right.
So
Well, and I like that Microsoft has even thought that through in a lot of their demo environments for different products. They have that pre-built in with those different,
yes,
generic participants, so you can give out those other logins
yeah, yeah,
during that training or those sessions, and where people can log in and utilize that technology, play those different roles.
yes, yes.
But
So
so I do always like to ask. I said I know that there's the stuff that you do in your day job, but one of the things I always like to ask MVPs is like, what are the latest technologies? I mean, we had Ignite this last fall, tons
yeah.
of announcements that are coming out, and of course, Copilot rebranding everywhere. But
Yes.
what's the most exciting stuff that's new that you're really passionate about?
So the last, currently is Azure is my kind of focus at the moment. I passed the AZ-204 certification this summer, and during that process, I created training material at the same time because that is how I make notes. So I don't do kind of, you know, just writing down my notes. I instead everything I learn, I condense and compile down into PowerPoints, exercises. So while I was studying for the certification, I actually created the training material, like raw training material. So right now, I'm actually trying to compile and finishing this training material, compiling it into a 5-day Azure for Developers training class. So that is what my kind of most of my daytime, is assigned to at the moment.
Hmm.
Because I really think that, I mean, most of us maybe have been clicking around in Azure portal, getting things up and running, but do you really understand it, and for me, taking the certification and also making the training class has forced me to really try to understand what happens when I do this thing and how does managed identity actually work and the hood. And also, struggling with Azure. Of course, you think that something's obviously should be easy, but it's not. Struggling with Azure CLI or identity in general or similar. So that journey has been really rewarding. Really learning about Azure, trying to compile it down and creating the training material at the same time and creating exercises and also out of this kind of effort to take the certification and creating the training material, I also created my own a separate open source project called
Hmm.
the Cloud Debugger for Azure. So when I have like a nice story here. So when we explore the planet Mars, we send up Mars rover, some robots to Mars to do
Hmm.
the exploration, doing peeking and poking on the Mars surface, measuring things, observing, you know, doing experiments on Mars.
Hmm.
But we need the same thing for the Azure cloud. When we want to kind of learn it, we want to send something into the cloud, some application that allows you to look at your environment variables, explore your identity, send a message to a queue, write to blob storage, change the storage tiers in blob storage, exploring the soft delete in blob storage. It can be exploring app services, can be exploring the log analytics workspace and similar things.
Hmm.
So I created this kind of ASP.NET Core application that consists of like 30, 40 different tools, allowing you as a student learning actually to, send a message to a queue, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of service, I can deploy this. I can deploy the same service to both Azure App Services, Windows, Linux, App Service container, container instances, and container apps. So I can have the same applications in all 5 places, allow me to compare the behavior of, when I do a scale out in app services, how does it compare to adding more kind of scale out in app container apps, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So really created this kind of Mars rover or Mars lander that allows me to poke around, explore the network, explore the file system, environment variables. And so that tool becomes like like a sidekick. So when you do the exercises, you can use this tool to verify or allow the student to confirm things and to explore what happens when I write or blob storage. How does that kind of relate to event grid? So I can have the event grid, send events to my application. I can see those things, clearly, in one of the tools,
Mm-hmm.
the received webhooks from event grid, for example.
And now,
So
did you say, is that open source? Is that something? Do you have other community members that are actively participating?
currently it's just me.
Mm-hmm.
I released it for like 2 months ago, so it's pretty new. But I'm still working on it, adding more tools and features. So when I do create my training material, I use that tool as a way to verify things, explore, environment variables, what happens to them when I set an app setting somewhere, for example, or similar.
Yep.
So these will be really helpful.
Do you have a site for that, or is that have you written about that on your blog? Where can we?
Yeah, I can provide you the links to it afterwards, and you can post those
No, I'd
links.
love to include that. Yeah, that'd be
Yes.
great out there. Well, awesome. Well, one last question for you. About in the program. So now that you are 2 weeks in, so you're a seasoned MVP, long timer,
Yes.
and you're gonna have people that are coming to you and asking questions about, hey, how could I become an MVP? What advice do you have to give to people that are interested and going down this path?
I really think that you have to start sharing your knowledge in some way. If it's YouTube, is it Twitch, is it the blogging or speaking at the user group? Choose your pick, but you have to you know engage in the community, start helping others, spreading knowledge. But at the same time, I really think that it's creating that content is rewarding too. You're learning so much things when you do those presentations or write those blog posts, doing that research. And I really enjoy, creating that content and then, spreading it, to others. So I really think that, you should be, so I do have one kind of a mantra, and that is that, the things you're scared of, you should do more often.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel like, do public speaking is your thing, give it a try. Because for like 14 years ago, I did not want to be a trainer, that is what was not my thing, but then try it a few times and, you fail a few times but then you thought, this is fun,
Yeah.
Because if you have a lot of maybe experience from the past, then, you can add that to your presentations and you relate it to things. So I really think that, my advice is to start small, start speaking at the user groups, engage in the community in some way, helping others. And then from that, you can level up and maybe do some conference talk or,
Yeah.
in some way. That's
Well,
my
I
advice.
always like to say that if you're interested in the program, like don't be afraid to reach out to
Sure.
MVPs like us. That
Yes.
we're some of the like we're connector personality
Yes.
types, so we're
Yes.
happy to share what we know
Yeah.
and to connect you with other people that we know and answer your questions. So reach out. Don't be
Yes.
shy.
Indeed.
Well, Tori, really appreciate your time. And for people that want to reach out and connect with you, where are you most active in social? Where can people find you?
I'm mainly today on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So if you search for my name, Tore Nestenius on LinkedIn, you will find me there. I'm also on Twitter and Blue Sky, but my main focus is on LinkedIn nowadays.
Yeah. Well, we'll have all those links out in the blog post and out on YouTube as
Yeah.
well. So, well, really appreciate your time,
Thank you.
and
The
hopefully
best
we'll
of
see you.
luck.
This is going to be a. I think travel is heating back up, so I might be over in your neck of the woods. Maybe you'll
Yeah,
be over this way as well a couple times
sure,
this year. So,
sure.
all right,
That's
we'll talk
good.
soon.
Steven, bye bye.